Let's talk patterns today. In the past year that I've been sewing, I probably made, I want to say hundreds, probably dozens of different patterns, and some of them made me feel like $1 million and some of them made me cry. My ultimate goal with sewing is to create a very chic and stylish wardrobe. I don't want to support fast fashion and rely on fashion sources like Zara, but also I don't want to spend money on designer clothes because, well, it's super expensive, and a lot of times it's due to marketing and name. And that's the lens that I'll be talking about the sewing pattern companies today. So let's dive in. I'm gonna rate them from the least favorite to the top one that I go again and again. And if I had $100 and I want to create my dream wardrobe, the number one company is where I would go. But let's begin with the least favorite one. Last and probably least is Burda Style for me. Here's the deal, I really wanted to like it. I got myself a gift, a subscription for 12 months of Burda Style. I know they've been around forever, so I had this idea that they probably figured out and doing something right about the patterns. It was around December and I have spent a lot of money on sewing patterns, and I was so frustrated at that point. I didn't want to keep on buying because nothing seemed to work. So my idea with Burda Style was to build a collection of 12 magazines with, well, they say 191 pattern. They probably have, what is it, like 30, 40 each, but still, times 12, that's a lot of patterns. But here's the deal, none of them really resonate with me. Like, I have a really hard time understanding who is their target audience, genuinely. Because when you open the magazine, they have really stylish and chic examples of how to style. It's really talking to me, but then I look at the patterns, they talk about cool and chic, and guys, to me it just does not look cool and chic. I don't know if you ever worked with Burda Style. They have patterns coming in this sheet like this. For each item they give you pattern number, the sheet number, and which numbers you have to trace. So it's actually not too bad. It looks very overwhelming at first, but it's not too bad. It's almost meditating. Like it's a fun activity, but their instructions are pretty limited. They don't have pictures, and first time I made them, I had few pieces left from my jacket. I didn't know where things went wrong. And also I made, in 7 months that I have the magazines, I made only 3 items, which kind of resonated with me. And out of those 3, I made them, I wore them probably once or twice, and I never wore them again. This is my experience so far, least favorite. Next on the list, we have indie patterns. For the indie patterns, I'm mostly referring to the ones that I bought on Etsy website. And here's the deal, there is a lot of individual. Did you know that indie stands for individual? I actually learned it very recently in my improv group. They have a lot of independent designers who have patterns. So it's not to say that all indie patterns are bad. I've had some good experience, for example, with Kiana Bonolo. I mentioned her before. I have a really good pattern from her of the turtleneck, which I made multiple times. I also made my very first pants with one of her patterns. And also she has a video tutorial for her patterns. So it's really easy to make. And as a beginner, there was a huge relief to be able to just follow along. However, the rest of her patterns didn't really resonate with me. She has a very specific style and I only chose 2 items out of it. And then all the other indie patterns, I didn't have fun making them. They were PDF patterns. I didn't have any problems assembling the pattern, like there was no issues there. I know some people mention that sometimes AI generated patterns, they can be misaligned, something doesn't work out. Like I didn't encounter that. I also used patterns that were mentioned by other sewists, especially on YouTube, so I kind of knew what to expect. A lot of them did have very good instructions, but at the same time, the items themselves, that when they came out, they were really not just simple, because simple can be good, but they were rather boring and not exciting. And I had really difficult time styling them and pulling them off. And they really looked homemade. It could be that my skill was not there yet, that's why they look homemade. But if I were right now to build my dream stylish wardrobe, I would not be going to Etsy for indie patterns. Next one on the list, we have Grasser. So I really wanted to like it. They do seem to have a big selection. A lot of it is quite interesting, quite modern and trendy. They do have patterns adjusted by size and height, which is, for me, being petite, this is super important. And I made only 2 free patterns from their website. Had no issues. The instructions were clear, the pattern were clear, the PDF I printed out, assembled, no problem. But there's a couple of things that make me hesitant to go back to them. Number one is I tried to buy patterns and my payment didn't go through. And I didn't have that issue with other patterns websites. So to me, that was very strange. And I didn't feel, as a customer, I didn't feel confident, like why would that happen? So it was kind of red flaggy. I tried a couple of times, it didn't go through. It could be that my browser didn't work. I didn't try multiple times. It didn't go through. I was like, okay, not meant to be. And number 2, which is a huge red flag for me. And guys, tell me if you made those patterns and what happened. I noticed that a lot of their patterns, instead of an actual item that you will be making, they have a designer photo from a fashion show or from a website. For example, there is Nike leggings or Alexander Wang shorts or ASOS top. Their notes say that the pattern was inspired but not a copy of this item, which to me makes no sense. Again, as a customer, I want to know what I'm buying. So here, if I'm buying something that was inspired by some photo from the internet, that doesn't give me reassurance of what exactly I'm making. Please tell me if you guys tried to make any of those, or should we do an experiment and try buying something? But to me, because of those 2 reasons, they are ranking lower for me. But I am open to give them another try. Next one is, there was such a huge discovery for me, but it didn't quite work out. Mood Fabrics patterns. When I first found them, I was ecstatic because at that point, I already spent money on patterns, and Mood Fabrics has a lot of sewing patterns for free. And that was so exciting. And they have all kind of stuff, from jackets to swimsuits, like you name it, they have it. I didn't actually make a lot of them, but the ones I did make, I was so disappointed. The sizing was all wrong for me. I tried to make a tank top and it was super, super small. And then I tried to make it a bigger size and it somehow turned out too large. And then I saw in comments people complaining about similar thing, that basically the fabric has to be very specific, like 90% stretch, which doesn't really make much sense to me as a pattern. Like, why would you make it so specific? And rather than it's just a tank top. Another one was my beach romper, which I made. To be fair, that didn't work out mostly because of the fabric choice. But even then, the style and the item itself was not very exciting. So that didn't quite work out. Ever since, I really wanted to make other items as well. But nothing really resonated with me enough to actually make it. Because sometimes you look at the pictures, to give them credit, they rank in higher than Grasser for me because they have actual pictures. And they do have instructions, although sometimes instructions can be a little bit unclear. A lot of it looks very simple. Again, simple as in kind of homemade. And I didn't have a lot of luck with Mood Fabrics. I mean, I've been tracking their recent patterns, and guys, I don't get them. Again, I really want to like them because they're free. And also I have to say that yes, they are free, but keep in mind that you are going to be spending your time and your fabric making those patterns. So again, like in my example, if the size doesn't work out, then the fabric is ultimately wasted. And now we have 2 of my favorites, and I think you can probably resonate with them, guys, because I see a lot of videos, a lot of sewists use this to sewing companies, so I think you've heard of them before. So number 2, we have Simplicity. Simplicity is a website, and on that website they have multiple sewing pattern companies that they're being sold on this website. So I'm just covering them as just overall Simplicity patterns. I was so ecstatic when I first discovered them because it was around Black Friday sale. And they had really good deals. Each pattern was around $1.50, $2. They seemed to have such a great selection. It was just overwhelming to me. I was like, oh my God. They had, I think, $75 free shipping at $1.50 per pattern. I got quite a lot, okay? And for quite a while, these were my main sewing patterns that I kept on making and making and making. And to give them credit, they do have videos for a lot of their items. This is how I learned a lot of techniques. However, even though I followed the videos and the items turned out well, I had really hard time styling them. None of them really seemed very fashionable and trendy. So to me, it was very frustrating because I had kind of one vision when I was making it. And then at the end, whether it's my technique, whether it's the pattern, whether it's the fabric, whatever didn't work out, it just really didn't work out. They also only come in one height. So it's up to you to adjust it to your height, to your proportions, which as a beginner could be very challenging and tricky. So I actually have a few patterns here just to kind of give you an idea. I used to love this pattern. These are Burda Easy pants. I made, I don't know, at least 5 of them. They were super easy to make, but again, they look very homemade-y. They look very simple, but I did have fabric with my puppy's face on it, so I absolutely love those pants for that reason, but not because of the style. And also, I made this pattern. This was probably hands down my favorite one. Like if I were to just keep one pattern out of the whole Simplicity collection, that probably would be this one. It comes with 2 items, the cargo pants and the sweatshirt. I made both. I adored both. Both of them have video tutorials. So this was actually kind of a turning point, these 2 items, from being a very beginner when I would sew something very straight like a tote to something to gain confidence to sew more elaborate things. These patterns gave me that confidence that you can do it. It's mostly about just more pieces. It's probably more passion, more patience, more passion for sewing, and just more precision, more time ultimately. But this was an amazing exercise. I don't wear them anymore as much just because the sizing of Simplicity does not quite work out for me. And I'm trying to adjust, so it's not like they don't fit. It's just the fit does not complement. There is a big Simplicity community, including all social media, including YouTube. So there's a lot of people who talk about it, who do reviews. So it's really easy to kind of find support and help if you need it with Simplicity patterns. So keep that in mind. But that's not my favorite sewing pattern company. The one I keep on making items on repeat is Vicky Sews. This was not love at first sight. Initially, I was very skeptical because when you buy sewing patterns from them, you have to select a very specific site. For Simplicity, for Mood Fabrics, for most indie, you get all the sizes and then you cut out the one you need. With Vicky Sews patterns, you have to get a specific size. If the size doesn't work out, you cannot just reprint it. You have to buy the new size. I was like, wow, this is an amazing business model. But I'm so happy I eventually gave it a try. And amazing thing about them, again, me being petite, they come in sizes. So if you are petite or if you are tall, you can select by height as well. Pretty much every single pattern that I made with Vicky Sews, I absolutely adore. It's, first of all, on the picture, it comes in a very trendy look, so you kind of get an idea of right away how to wear it. And 2, when I finish them, I don't think I ever had a problem styling and looking good in their makes, in their patterns. And I like their patterns so much. A lot of times I make it again and again. For example, I have this dress, Roxanne. I made this orange dress first. I absolutely fell in love with it. I actually don't wear it outside too much because it gets so much attention. I always get comments about it because it's so bright. My neighbor called it a color therapy, which is funny. I like that, but I'm very cautious that the effect it has on people. But I love that dress so much, the way it fits, the way it hugs, which is interesting because it's very similar to another dress I made by Simplicity. I remember I talked about it in one of my failures videos, if you guys remember, which made me feel like Shrek's godmother. Very similar idea. It's a bodycon dress, it's tight, it's long, but Vicky Sews one, just the way it's sewn, this asymmetric cuts, the way the sleeves are made. The Simplicity one, I hated it it made me feel very uncomfortable. It hugged me on all the wrong spots. With Vicky shoes, I already made, not to lie, three of them. I do want to make more because it just so easy to style. I wear it with just sneakers and that's it. That's the whole outfit. Here's another dress I made 2 so far. Already cut the third one. It's this one. Again, love it. Again, it's a Walmart pre-cut section fabric. So these are just the examples. And they have this really cool feature I absolutely adore and I always use it. They have the hashtag for each item. If you click on it, it takes you to Instagram where people tag their makes and you can see what people come up with, like what they wear and how it fits. And I have to say, a lot of those girls, they are so stylish. It's stunning to me. It's stunning and it's so inspiring. A lot of them, you would have never guessed they're making their own clothes. See, and that's the feeling. I've never gotten the simplicity. And I'm really sorry to say that. I really love simplicity. I really like how they make it accessible, more accessible with video tutorials. But when you make simplicity, you kind of expect more of a more simple, more homemade finishing and look. Whereas these Vicky shoes, just the styles, the cuts, the way the finishes, they seem to be more luxurious. And that's all I have for you guys today. Tell me your thoughts. Agree or disagree? Let me know. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next week.